Okay, in this tutorial, we are going to go over the process of setting up registration for the Faculty Associate Learning Communities. So to build the form, what you'll want to do is go to log into your online email, and then you'll want to access your Microsoft 365 apps over here in the left corner and select Forms. And you can see I have, as it loads here, a list of all of the forms that we have used in the Center for Faculty Excellence. And I have included in my task list, a link to the template for this. So when creating a learning community registration form, what you'll do is you'll base it off of this template, so you don't need to change any of the questions at the bottom. All that you really need to do is update the learning community information. And what we do for each semester is we use a designation. That way it's easier to search in your list of forms as you start getting a lot of forms that you've created for each workshop or learning community or book club offering. So this is for a spring 2023 learning community registration. So spring is abbreviated SP, and then for 2023 we do 23. And then you add the title of the learning community. So if it was summer, it would be SU 2023, and if it was fall, it would be FA 23. In here you'll add a description of what the learning community is. If there are learning community learning outcomes or learning objectives, you would list them here as well. Any participation requirements, so if the learning community is only open to maybe instructors from a certain program or a certain college, you would want to list that here as well. The length, so this is just for spring semester. And then the facilitator, and after completing this form, you'll receive a confirmation email with information about the learning community meeting pattern. So we'll also show you how to set up those confirmation emails. To share this, you'll want to link it on our website, so you'll select collect responses, and you would copy the link here. If you want to share it as a template, what you'll do is you'll select settings, collaborate or duplicate, and then this is the link that you can share as a template. So I'll show you our learning community website. So you go over to instructor communities and learning communities. And this is where you would link information for the learning communities. So as you can see here, I've already created the registration for the spring learning communities. So I'll go to the one that I was just showing you. So this is the flipped classroom. So I've included the learning objectives here and the schedule. So I have linked this already. So if I go here, I would just click register, and it would go straight to the link for that learning community. Now I want to show you how to create those automates, which can be a little confusing. So when you go in the Center for Faculty Excellence SharePoint, on the left navigation, we have created a list for all of our workshop registrants. So when we have forms for workshops, for basically any events, so learning community events, book club events, what we want to do is create an automatic workflow that when someone goes here and they submit their registration, this information automatically flows into our workshop registration SharePoint list. Because then what we can do is we can connect this list to Power BI to review the data, but that is in a different video. So to create this automate, it's in our Microsoft Suite. So we'll go over to Suite, PowerAutomate. Okay, so I will show you how I have these set up. And then you can build one based on my logic that I have here. So I'm going over to my flows, and you can see I've already created one for the flipped classroom registration. So as just with the same as the way we titled this with the designation for the semester SP23, we want to do the same thing for our flows here too. So you can see these are some from fall semester. Now we're starting to do them for spring semester. So I'm going to go here and click edit so I can show you how this flow is set up. Okay, so the first trigger is when the response is submitted via this registration form. So we want to select the correct registration form. As you can see, there's plenty in here to select from all of the forms I've created. And then after a response is submitted, we want to get all of the details from that response. So we also want to select which form we're choosing it from, and the response ID, we want it to be from the list of those who respond. Then we want to get their user profile. So here you can see this is where you insert each new step. So we want to select the responder because we want to get all the responders' user information that is then going to feed into that SharePoint list. So these are basically the first three steps that are going to feed then into create item. So this is where it's going. As you can see the icon here, this is the SharePoint icon. So we have it going into our Center for Faculty Excellence SharePoint and the list name workshop registrants. So we have all of that information, as you see, workshop registrants, feeding into this workshop registrants list. So we'll go back to the flow. So this is where we can input information for the fields that we want to show up on that list. So you always want the responders' email information and their display name, so it'll be the name that is on their BGSU information. Then you'll have to manually input some of the information. So you'll have to manually input the title of the workshop. If there's a date of the workshop, so there is no specific date of this workshop because it's a learning community, so they have a varied meeting pattern, so we leave this empty. But if this is an individual workshop, we would put the date of the workshop, and you want to refer back to the list to see how that date is formatted. So we're just putting the month and the numeric day. The start time and the end time, the modality. So as you can see here, we have, we can choose from hybrid, in-person, the location, virtual, and Zoom. Go back to here. The workshop facilitator. So this is facilitated by Carrie Hamady, which is one of our faculty associates. And now we want to actually add dynamic content. So you would click on this and you can get a variety of information about the registrant. So we want to make sure we're selecting the right information for the right column. So we want to know what department they're coming from. Then we would scroll down over here and select their job title because we want to know what their title is. We want to, and I'll click off of these just to show you how to grab those. Then we would select the college. So we want to know, so are they coming from arts and sciences? Are they coming from College of Business? So we want to make sure that field is added. And then how did you hear about this workshop? So I want to select, but this one is how did you hear about this learning community? And then we also manually input the semester and the year. So far what we've done is with these automated steps is we've created when someone submits their registration is on this form through those specific automated steps, their information will feed into the workshop registrants list in SharePoint. So now we want to add a few extra steps because we want to make sure that we are sending an automatic email to the registrant as well as to the facilitator so that they know someone registered. So as you can see, the next step here, we have send an email. So this is going to go to the responder's email. So this is going to go to the person who registered. We want to make sure we select that. And then this is where we can input the subject and the body. So I always put what it is. So this is Learning Community Registration for the Flipped Classroom Learning Community. And I choose their display name just to make it individualized. And this is where we want to put any information about the learning community or the meeting pattern in the body of the email. So with this one, since we don't have the meeting pattern solidified yet, we have a very basic automatic email that they'll get, which just says, "Thank you for registering. Your learning community will be facilitated by Dr. Carrie Hamady. She will contact all participants regarding the meeting pattern. If you have any questions, please reach out to Carrie," and then we provide her contact information. And then if we have a tentative schedule, we can add that here. So her tentative schedule is once a month, 3 times a semester with one-on-one meetings over the semester. Dates and times will be determined based on the group's availability. So this is going to go to the respondent after they submit their registration form. The last step that you want to include is the email notification to the facilitator. So this is going to go to Carrie, and the subject, new registrant, flipped classroom. And this is not for equity. Oh yes, flipped classroom for equity and inclusion, that's the title. So you want to add in here the fields that are coming from the response details from what they're submitting in the form. So we have the name, their email, so that way she can reach out to them if she would like to, and then has registered for the Flipped Classroom Learning Community. We also want to include the information that came from the form. So how did you hear about this learning community? Describe your interests and goals in joining this learning community and their college. So once we've included all that, we click Save. And you can see here it says saving. Okay, so then it says save, you should test it. So we go back to the flow. You want to make sure it's turned on. So this one is turned on, but if it's not turned on, this would say turn on, but as you can see, it is turned on, so it say turn off. So to test it, what I'll do is I'll go back to the registration form. I'll just type in here test. So that way Carrie knows if she gets this automatic email that's a test. And then test, and then I'll hit submit. Thank you, your response was submitted. Now we want to make sure, since I'm submitting the response, that I get the automatic email. So then what I'll do is I'll go back into my email. And as you can see, I have the email. Thank you for registering for the learning community. Your learning community will be facilitated by, and the information that we included. So that is how we do our learning community registration. Basically what I do then is once I've built one of them, is I will use that as the template. So I'll go over here and I'll do save as. And it'll take a little while to load. And this is where I would update. So for the next learning community registration, I would say Spring Learning Community. And we'll just say this one is inclusive pedagogy. And I need to spell that right, inclusive pedagogy. And I would save that. And then as you can see, this is not turned on. So I would then go in and edit. So I would edit that based on this specific learning community. So I would have to go through and reselect a different form, but you don't have to rebuild all the steps then. You just have to edit the specific information for that learning community. And then once you save it, you would go back to your flows, and then this is where you would want to turn it on. I also want to show you how we edit the learning community website. So let me log in here. So Bowling Green State University uses Adobe AEM for their website management. So as you can see here, these are all of the pages that are part of the BGSU website. So you want to scroll down to Center for Faculty Excellence, and then Instructor Communities, and then Learning Communities. So we'll go over here, double click to open that page. And as you can see, this is where you can go through to edit and make changes for the learning communities. So I have these set up so that it's columns, so that this is 2/3 of the column is on the left and the smaller side of the column is on the right. And I have it set up for the title for the learning community information. The facilitator information is over here. And then this is the registration form. So let me just edit that to show you how that works. So I have a join now, and then we want to make sure we're telling them what they're joining. So this would be for the information literacy learning community. And then this is where you would link out to, as you can see here, we've linked out to the registration form. And you always want to make sure that you have the accessible title telling you what they are registering for. We also have this styled as an orange button, so that way it indicates that they should click that to register. If there are any materials that they'll be using, so I have the information literacy framework image of the book, and drop downs for if they have a schedule. So you can see this one already has their schedule identified. And then we go down to the next one, same thing. So that's how we edit our learning communities page. When you go back over here, as you can see, this is where you would activate. So after you make any changes, it'll show that a different color here. And then to activate it, you would click this button here. And once it's completely published and updated, it turns green. So that's where we go through and make all the changes for learning communities. That's basically all of our learning community information. So hopefully that is helpful for setting up learning communities in the future.